Hello, I hope you all are fine, safe, stay at home, be safe, take all the precautions regarding which are necessary for the coronavirus. You have to be safe and very healthy. Now, since we are in this lockdown situation, it was an idea to start the research internship. The research cell was already formulated in the college, and an activity under the research cell is the research internship, which we are going to carry on for around, I think, a week. Now, in this internship, what we expect is that our students write a research paper, and what are the necessary aspects for writing the research paper, that I'm going to elaborate. Your research, the topic is E, so it will be E content in any form of any aspect. But the main issue is how to write an article. Remember always that an article has to be written in a particular form. In fact, any research has to be conducted in a particular form. Writing an article is the first step of the entire research project. Further on, we can try even a few projects, even the non-doctoral projects, which we have got some proposals. We will try and see whether we can really conduct non-doctoral proposals. As you know, that research is very important these days because research is in every field. Development, in fact, depends upon research, and good papers will give us more scope. It will give the students a very good scope for furthering their advancements in their career. Now, let us see what are the aspects of writing a research paper. Actually, the article has to be considered as an ideal. Only an ideal article is selected in any of the journals. So we have to give the best. Now let us see what is the format of a research paper or a research article. The first aspect is abstract. Now what is the meaning of abstract? Abstract means it is a portion which has been selected from your content, and that abstract has to contain as to what the research is about, what are the, in very precise words, what are the highlights of our particular research paper. That's all. Because after the abstract, even if we don't use the title of introduction, we have to write a paragraph of introduction, and that introduction is a particular introduction to the topic, the real introduction or an introduction in detail of our particular content. Then we have the other aspect, that is literature review and the conceptual framework of a research methodology we have to follow, but we don't have to, in our research paper there is no need for us to write the research methodology, neither the result, that is the conclusion we have tried, but not the result. I'll go to the third slide. That is what the abstract contains. The abstract contains the problem if we have a particular statement problem. But if we are just going to write our views on a particular concept, then perhaps there is no need to formulate the research problem. But the issues which we are going to discuss, those have to be written. And the key results, as I said, a little content in a very precise manner we have to write. Actually, the abstract is considered to be a mini thesis of our article. In the introduction, as I said, we have to give the thread. We have to give the essence as to what our topic is, what is the significance, and why you have chosen that particular topic. The relevancy of our research to the present times is very important. Even if we take some historical concept, doesn't matter, but its relevancy in today's times is very important. A topic if you select which is not relevant in the present times will be a futile research, because research is in advancement or furtherment of the knowledge for the society, and that is why it is absolutely necessary that we select a topic which is relevant in the present times. So keep this in mind, and we have to open up the article through the gate of introduction. It is only a small paragraph, but it is, even if you don't use the word introduction, doesn't matter, but it has to be there in the essence. Literature review is very important for two aspects. The first aspect is this, that when your article is selected and when the readers read your article, they have to know as to what knowledge you have regarding the present article which you are writing. So this literature gives a particular mirror as to our reflection of knowledge. That is, how many articles, how many books, or what is the e-content that you have referred to before writing this article, or what have you referred to in your article. So this is the first. And the second is this, that we also get a know-how in writing a particular article. Suppose we do not know a particular aspect and we include it in our article, then we have made an error. And an error in a research makes the research absolutely futile and of no use. So this is an idea to give the readers as to what you know about the topic, and it is an idea for us how to proceed our article writing. What are the aspects which we have to include in our article writing? So the literature review, it includes articles, books, magazines, any content, any online secondary source of data, because research paper generally is a non-doctrinal research wherein we go into the secondary sources of data. But the key aspect over here is that it has to be precise. Generally, a good article features around 2000 to 2005 words. This is the average article. So in that, we have to limit our words to around about 300 to 400 to a literature review, if you're going to include it. But if you're going to just give it as reference wise, there is no question, even 100 or 200 words would be sufficient. But we have to give the appropriate citations. Whenever you're going to use a particular somebody else's thought, or a particular thought which is already been elaborated by somebody else, then it is absolutely mandatory for us to give the citation. Remember, plagiarism is a very bad concept. It is no research, it is just copy. So we cannot say that an article is a research article if we have plagiarism. And plagiarism has to be, if there is any plague, then it has to be only round about, they say 15, but I tolerate only 8 to 10% of plague in our research article, not more than that. That too with appropriate citations. Even if we have to say something, you take the essence, cite, and put it in your own words. This is more important, because when we write, we have to give that content in our own words, our own philosophy, our own line of thinking. The conceptual framework of research is not so important in an article writing. It is important in an actual research which you do, but still it is better to give a conceptual framework in the introduction itself. The methodology of the research is, of course, non-doctrinal research, as I said, in which we deal mostly on the secondary source of data. The secondary source of data is now very easily available on our internet, the Google, and so many other platforms of online sources. So get the best data, get the correct data, get the verified data, analyze yourself, and then start writing it down. Don't copy the data as it is unless and until you have analyzed somebody else's view, somebody else's opinion, or the principle, or a particular fact. It is no research. So don't copy the data, analyze the data, interpret the data, classify the data, arrange the data according to your own evaluation standards or criteria. The result of the research, that is the conclusion. We have to come to a particular conclusion in an article writing. Without giving the complete analysis and the inferences drawn on the analysis, which is called as the conclusion, is absolutely a must in the research article. We can give discussions, we can give suggestions as a part of conclusion. Remember that sometimes the conclusion is written in the form of suggestions. So there is no need for you to write suggestions separately and conclusions separately. You can conclude by way of giving or forwarding certain suggestions. Now, since the theme of our research is E, I have chosen to speak a few words on E education. E-education is not a very new concept, but suddenly, due to the lockdown situation, it has surged to a lot of fame and utility. In fact, lockdown has shown us the utility of e-education. Now, what is e-education? Everybody knows what is e-education: online teaching and learning, training methods. But before going to e-education, education is the foundation of any development. The development of the society depends upon education in all spectrums. It's not just law, but in all the spectrums. Of course, law is the life which runs through the entire society, but still, education is the foundation. So, all types of education is very vital for the development of the society. Now, what are the modes, what are the methods of education? Basically, we have two modes of education. One is called as the traditional system of education, and the other is called as the modern or the e-education. Now, what is a traditional system? The traditional system is the system wherein we have the physical or the factual classrooms, wherein we have the structure of the classroom and the physical presence of the teacher, the trainer, as well as the students. Previously, in the yesteryears, the emphasis was given on the teaching and the remembering aspect. The students were asked to remember, but remember means not the rattafy as many of the students do. Remembering here is a different concept. Remembering the principle, the application of the principle, the evaluation of the principle, the exceptions, the limitations of the principles were to be remembered. Suppose we know the application and the evaluation of what? Of the principle. So we have to remember the principle, we have to remember the particular rule, and then we remember the application, the evaluation, and the exception. So this was taught in the yesteryears in the physical classrooms, wherein the trainer and the students were physically present. There was an eye contact, or the contact was on a personal level of a teacher and student. The concept of guru was there, wherein he was responsible for the overall development of the child, not just teaching. It was the overall it was a he was called as a quasi parent. So it was a quasi parental attitude in the traditional system. This system was more flexible in the sense that whatever was not followed by the students was repeated by the teacher n number of times, or in whatever examples or whatever manners. So also there were a lot of clearance of doubt then and there. Asking suggestions, discussions, etc. was a part of the traditional systems. As times have changed, the modes of education have changed, and from traditional we have moved on to the modern e-education. Now, if traditional education system was based on physical or factual classroom, the modern education is based on virtual classroom. That means virtually we have a classroom, or we call it as the Google Classroom, which is very famous and of very use in the present lockdown situation. So most of that teaching is done in the Google Classrooms. This mode, this e-education system is more systematic and structured. Why it is structured? Because the PPTs have to be presented, the teacher has to give some sort of information. Like in the classroom, sometimes the topic swayed, the topic moved according to the discussion, but here it may not happen so. So it is more systematic, it is more structured, it is more formal. The classroom teaching technique was a little informal, but now it is more formal in the e-education system. This is also flexible, but its flexibility differs in nature. The e-education system is flexible in terms of time. That is, the teacher can record the lecture according to her or his own convenient time, and the students can listen to it in their own convenient time. This is the most important aspect of e-classroom, that is convenience. And so education is more feasible, more possible, because we don't have that structured time table, that is you have to attend this class at this particular time. This is absent over here, and that is where this education or this technique of education becomes more convenient and it is more flexible. But otherwise, in the nature of learning and teaching, it is a little rigid. Now let us go to the modules of education that everybody knows: the video clips, the online educations, the direct instructions, just the instructions of a particular concept, like what we are doing in our research for the research internees. The Google Classroom, the online learning sources, so many. Then instead of having the seminars, we are having the webinars, the MOOC courses, the Swayam, and so many other platforms which are there. So these are the models of e-education, and you can write on any one, but you have to remember that you have to explain the content, and then you have to weigh the possibilities, the feasibilities, the advantages and the disadvantages of any module of education. Now let us try and understand the utility of education, whether the e-education is useful. Now this question is answered in our lockdown time, that this is the most useful technique of education. The lockdown has taught us that education is possible, not only feasible, it is possible only because of the e-education. So in the situations, in the emergency situations, what best alternative can we have for the physical classrooms other than e-education? So the utility has been proved beyond a reasonable doubt that it is one of the most essential, most fruitful platforms of education. Now it is convenient in the sense to both the trainer also and the students also. As I've said before, we can record our lectures in our own time, so we can devote more time. It can be more structured, it can be more systematic, it can be more better in the way of PowerPoint presentation, which is more popular. Students prefer the PowerPoint presentation rather than just the discussion or just the one-way teaching. In the classroom, generally it happens that it is a one-way teaching. Here also it may happen that it is one way, that is the teacher or the trainer tells whatever he or she wants, and then the doubts are cleared through the chat box or whatever other means. But nevertheless, it is more convenient as in the terms of time, as well as the period, as well as the structure of the course. So the teachers can formulate it, channelize it, and put it forward according to their own convenience, and the students can visualize it according to their own convenience. Now this important aspect gives way to another dimension, that is those people who want the education but do not have the time to go to the classrooms can get education. This is the major advantage of this convenience factor of e-education. As I said, it is more structured. Structured means we have to give a PPT presentation, so there is no question of leaving out one point, or there is no question of changing the order. The order has to be the same, and it is there put forward in the PPTs. The entire study material can be put forward in the PPTs, and that is why it is more structured, systematic and organized. Another factor is that the e-education is more popular. The younger generation prefers e-education rather than the traditional classrooms. And because it is more popular, it is mostly followed everywhere around the entire global structure of education. Another most vital aspect of e-education is this, that this education system crosses the geographical territories. That means there is no limitation of any territory. There is no limitation of that particular physical classroom. A particular person sitting here can take education anywhere in the universe, anywhere in the global structure. This is the best advantage, and that is why we have so many international courses done. If e-education was not there, education wouldn't have crossed the territorial boundaries. It would be very difficult for us to conduct and participate in the international conferences, seminars, or any other uh, teaching training program. So this is the best advantage of e-education, that it can become global. So whatever is taught anywhere, we can access through the online medium, any Zoom application or any other application. So we have seen, we have experienced, the New Law College has also conducted so many webinars. So if this e-education was not there, this platform was not there, what would we do, and how would we conduct, and how would we promote our thoughts of education in the absence of the online teaching techniques like MOOC courses or the webinar apps? So this is the most important aspect of e-education. And because it crosses the territorial boundaries, the expanse of education is widened. The horizons of the education have widened. So we can access to any type of education which we want just by sitting at home. This is the best part. Otherwise, the limitation of the physical classroom is completely absent, that we have to go to the college, we have to go to the department. But here we can access the knowledge in any part of the world, and that is why the expanse, that is the gateways to education, have opened, have increased. That is why it is the best part. So we can, we the education has opened up. Even a person in the rural areas through the apps can take education. There is no need for him to come to the cities, and from the cities we can go to any global atmosphere for taking education. We know that any concept, if it has got advantages, then it has also got some deficiencies or disadvantages. The basic disadvantage of e-education is the technical issues, the connections, the devices, the connections of Wi-Fi, the internet. This is a severe problem. Once, suppose we do not get a particular connection, then we are in a mess, especially for Zoom conferences or webinars. So this is the technical issue, but again, this technical issue can be managed. We are still developing, and we will develop to the point wherein these technical issues can be sidelined. But today, yes, there is a technical issue which is a big hurdle in the e-education system. Another deficiency is this, that there is no personal contact between the teacher and the student. You know, that rapport, that personal rapport between a teacher and a student, this is lacking because the education is more formal. So all the informal advantages are lost. The third is that there is no sense of belonging. Like how many ever degrees you take through online education, that belongingness, you know, that belonging feeling to a particular university. When we say Bharati Vidyapeeth, it is ours. So that college, that campus, that classroom, that ambience, that atmosphere is ours. This is the feeling which we get. That feeling may be lacking, but of course everything is going formal. So perhaps the students will be used to this also, but nevertheless that attachment with the institutions, you know, my institution, that feeling of belongingness, you know, my Bharati Vidyapeeth, my New Law College, that feeling might be lacking. Nevertheless, the advantages override the deficiencies because we still are in a era of technology, and so we have this education, e-education system. Now, I have told you in brief what is required in the article. We have to write that those aspects, that is the abstract, the introduction, the keywords, the words which you are going to use or elaborate, and the content and the conclusion. You have to keep your article round about 2000 to 2500, at the most 3000 words, but not more than that. Article should always be reasonable. Another aspect is this, that you have to formulate a very catchy title. Try and formulate a catchy title instead of just giving the name of the content. Now, if the article is really creative, if the article is really original, then of course we are going to give rankings. We'll correct, and we'll give rankings. But the article which will be evaluated from the structure point of view and the originality point of view, the relevancy, it has to be original, it has to be relevant, it has to be applicable. You cannot have a utopian concept applicable. So we will select the best articles. I think 6 articles we have decided to select, and then we will publish the articles. So make the best use of your time, do some creative work. This research is going to help you in the long run. So all the best, and I really look forward for the new articles which you are going to give.
Thank you.
Thank you. All the best. कसं झालं ग?
स्टॉप झाला, चांगलं झालं. पण तुम्ही वरती का बघता, कॅमेराकडे बघा ना. म्हणजे कसं आहे बघा, आता मी जेव्हा तुम्हाला बघणार ऍज अ स्टुडंट, तेव्हा मला कसं पाहिजे की मॅडम माझ्याशी हे झालं पाहिजे.
बघू बरं, मला जरा ऐकू देत मला. चल बाहेर जाऊन ऐकायचं का? दुसरेच ऐकतील. मला अगं ती सवय, आता मला कॅमेराची सवय नाही ना. चल ऐकायचं का? मी आता कपडे बदलते आणि आपण बाहेर बसून ऐकू.
चला
मी जाऊ बाहेर कपडे बदलायला.
हो, जा.
झाडाचं चांगलं तर मी पाठवून नाही.